Hey, Mike from Cappiche Games here. It's been a very busy couple of weeks in terms of TurtleRun and just life in general. Thankfully, I've still been managing to get my game dev hours in, but I've had to prioritise certain things, which has meant my limited free time was better spent actually making my game instead of creating content. But we're here now, so what's been happening? First off, if you're new here, I'm a solo developer working on my first project, TurtleRun. It's a fast-paced 2D action platform shooter with pixel art graphics and a cute little turtle protagonist. I started with zero experience in game development and I've been learning so much and working really hard to make something that I can be proud of and that hopefully you'll all enjoy. You can try out the newly updated demo on Steam, and if you want to be really nice, give it a wishlist as well. Wishlisting really helps with the visibility of the game, and to be honest, it just makes me feel good. This is my first of hopefully many projects, and my long-term goal is to have a library of enjoyable experiences released by Cappiche Games. So, speaking of the demo, with Steam Next Fest just around the corner, which TurtleRun is going to be a part of, I've been really focusing my time on making the demo as fun and polished as possible. With TurtleRun being a relatively small game, I've gone back and forth a few times on how much content should even be in the demo. Since I created it, it's always just been the first zone, but I've decided that it should in fact be the first 2 zones, meaning you'll have 8 levels, 2 mini-games and 2 boss encounters to play through. I think this strikes a good balance of showcasing what the game is about and giving the player a good challenge without giving away too much of what will be in the final release. I'm not really sure yet how beneficial participating in Next Fest is going to be, but it can't hurt, and it gave me an excuse to push out my initially planned release date a little bit and make sure the game is as solid as possible before I release it. I can't wait to get some more feedback on how people enjoy the game, and I'm sure there will be a lot of hopefully constructive criticism that I can use to improve it as well. Anyway, more levels are available now, so head to the TurtleRun Steam page, download it and give it a go. A couple of things that have really been bugging me that I couldn't put my finger on at first was the amount of spikes being used to cover areas that the player lands on when they miss a jump. I initially replaced all of these with invisible kill zones, but after a while of playing through the game, realised that they are also just horrible, and when you miss a jump and expect to land somewhere but just randomly die, it doesn't feel good. I decided that a 2 birds 1 stone solution for this was to instead add some kind of body of liquid that would kill the player if they land in it, but looked a lot more aesthetically pleasing than random rows of spikes floating in the air, and a lot more immersive than invisible kill zones. It also gave me a chance to design different types of liquid pools based on the zone the player is in. And yes, I know the player is a turtle, but turtles can't swim in acid or mud, okay? Well, they probably can swim in mud. And the beach zone actually has water pools, which I have no answer for, but we don't question these things, alright? Anyway, I created a bunch of these cool looking little animated pools, and I really enjoyed how it felt having them in the game. They felt a little bare and empty though, so I decided that adding some randomly spawning bubbles in the pool would be cool. I created a different colour of bubble for each of the pool types and then wrote some code that will spawn the bubbles at a random place in the pool. Every frame, each pool has a 10% chance to spawn a bubble within it, at a random location on the x-axis of the pool, ignoring the left and rightmost 10% of the space, and spawning starting at one of the first 20 frames in the 31 frame animation. When a bubble is spawned, there's a 45 millisecond cooldown timer that ticks down to 0, allowing the 10% chance per frame of spawning another bubble to continue being calculated. I think it gives it a really nice effect and it looks infinitely better than overusing spikes. We've also got the very first track of hopefully many of our very own TurtleRun OST, created by my good friend and bass player / producer in my band, Ali. It's absolutely sick and it fits very nicely. Oh, and guess what? You can go and hear it right now by downloading the demo and playing through the Woodland Zone. I cannot wait to eventually have every zone using our own tracks. Hopefully by the next fest we'll have the whole demo only using original music. So, while I say I'm a solo developer, I'm not doing that part myself. I simply don't have the time or the talent for that. When it comes to music, I play the drums, and that's about as far as it goes. I finished off the 3rd zone, the streets, by going through some of the more slightly unfair areas, particularly when it comes to moving platform spiky sections, and made them a bit more forgiving. Some of the jumps had to be nearly pixel perfect, and to be honest, was more frustrating than fun. Because I've played the game so many times, certain areas feel easier to me than they would to the average player, which is why it's so important to have people playtest your game with a more open mind than you have. I also decided that the yellow tile set I had was a bit whack and didn't really tie in properly with the vibe of the zone, so I added a nice new red set of tiles, which I really love. I decided to make the quality of life a bit better for the player by adding in a few needed improvements. Firstly, there was a real pain with dying and then instantly being hit by another bullet as soon as you spawn. On boss fights in particular, when waves of bullets are being shot at the player, it could lead to chains of deaths where you would respawn and immediately get insta-smoked over and over again. I thought about having a few seconds of immunity after respawning, but literally just as I was about to create a branch for that ticket and start working out the best way to do it, I had a total light bulb moment and decided to just destroy all bullet objects when the player dies, giving them a fresh canvas with which to get their turtle on every time they do die. This feels so much better to play and makes the boss encounters a lot more bearable when you do meet your unfortunate demise. I also had quite a few people asking me in the Discord, where are the instructions for falling through the moving platforms? Previously, this had been written on one of the interactable signposts in the game, but apparently you can't trust people to actually read. A valuable lesson to learn. Now, a message appears on the screen when the player lands on the first moving platform in level 3, and they even get an achievement for being an observant little turtle when they perform the action. It was a good spot though. Critical information on how to perform mechanics shouldn't really be missable, so it is a necessary change. I added an exit to main menu option so that the player doesn't have to close and reopen to start a new run. I stopped asking the player if they would like to try again for a better bonus every time they die 5 times in a boss encounter. Well, I don't stop asking on my own accord, but I give them the option not to be asked again every time they are asked. I fixed an issue where if timed perfectly imperfect, the player could get stuck inside a newly spawned crumbling block. I stopped those silly badgers shooting over your head, added some telegraphing to the Street Zone wheelie bin boss's jump attack, which I absolutely love, fixed a bug that has been paining me since almost day one, where using a controller and running to one side and quickly turning to the opposite direction would result in you snapping back to the way you were originally facing. Absolutely brutal to play with, and I couldn't figure it out for ages. Turns out I needed to add more of a dead zone on the controller joystick. That's the degree of movement required on the stick before the game registers that it should move the player. Super handy if you drop your controller as much as I have and have stick drift on your joysticks. As well as a few more silly little things, which I'm finally running out of for now. It's been nice always having something small and annoying to go and fix for a quick win, but I think I've cherry picked most of these now in the process of polishing up the demo, so it's probably on to the trickier things. Something I did really enjoy was adding a lot more achievements to the game. It's definitely one of the most fun parts for me. There's just something so cool about creating them. Coming up with a name, how they are unlocked, creating the coloured and grayscale icon, setting them up in Steam, using the Steamworks API to unlock it, and best of all, hearing that endorphin-inducing little noise. A lot of these changes were driven by the feedback received from my trusty squad of playtesters. Every time I push out a new build, I let them know and show the changelog via the Discord, and they get to work playing through the game and finding all sorts of weird little things for me to improve upon. I honestly can't imagine what state the game would be in if I didn't have them, and it's really helped me surpass my own expectations for the quality of my first game. I was a bit hesitant to create a Discord server at first without having any real traction here on YouTube yet, but I'm so glad I did. It's beyond valuable. If you too would like to become a tester or just get involved in some friendly game development discussion, join the Cappiche Games Discord via the link in the description. So yeah, with all of this, the game is coming along really nicely. It's not the grandest project in the world in terms of scope, but I'm just happy that I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel and the finish line is starting to feel a lot closer. I have just one more, maybe two if I let scope creep and intrusive thoughts beat me, zones left to add, and then I'll have a big phase of testing and ironing out any remaining lingering bugs or issues. I'm planning to release in November of this year, after the Steam Next Fest, so keep an eye out for that and make sure you wishlist the game to receive a notification and take advantage of the launch discount. Thanks so much for watching the video, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it, check out the other devlogs in the playlist, have a peek at TurtleRun on Steam, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.